Hi, this is Matt Morrison with Technically Speaking at Source Allies. Today, we're going to be talking about mocking responsibly. This is part 2 of a series, so if you haven't seen part 1 yet, check out the link below to get caught up. We're going to pick up right where we left off on part 1. Again, today, we will be using Python. Haley, if you don't mind. Thank you. Last time, we talked about what I referred to as general purpose mocking. In that example, we were changing how Python functions worked while our tests were running. Today, I'm going to be talking about what I'm calling specific specialized mocking. It's specific because it's going to be something that works for a specific tool or library. In our case, the requests library. And it's specialized because it's not going to mock Python functions the way that general purpose mocking would. It's going to only take care of mocking web requests. In our example today, we are going to use a library called responses, which is a testing tool for the requests library. Depending on your use case, you may find it advantageous to take advantage of a specific specialized tool. It may clean up your tests and allow you more freedom in refactoring. That is, if you're all right with the trade-off of using something that's specific to the tool that you've chosen. More on that trade-off later. Okay, let's jump into our code. Quick, we'll do a recap of where we left things in part 1. So we've got our tests, 2 tests. We've got our one real test and our one mocked test. And in this case, we are mocking the requests library. And our application looks like this. We've commented out the URL lib syntax and dropped in the requests syntax. And we're using this response.text. And just to show that everything is passing. Okay. So let's take a look at using responses to mock our application a little bit differently than what we were doing with our first example here. Okay. So I've updated our tests. We're importing responses. And we are activating responses. So this is essentially going to be similar to the mock patch decorator, where for the duration of the test, the responses that I set up will be in effect, essentially. And then down in our test, I'm saying responses.get, and I've got our sourceallies.com URL and a body of mock text. Then I'm calling our application's getDescription function and asserting that the description that is returned contains the mock text that we set up here. So let's save that and run it. And it passes. Perfect. That was easy. Let's take a look at one of the trade-offs that we had with the other form of mocking, where we were using the general purpose mocking, was that we couldn't freely refactor when we figured out that we could do text instead of content.decode. We had to update our mocks. And that's not ideal because I want my tests there to tell me that my refactoring is successful. And if every time I refactor, I also have to change my tests, that doesn't give me a lot of confidence that I was successful in refactoring. Ideally, I can refactor as much as I want and my tests will stay green the whole time. And if they fail, that tells me I've potentially done something wrong. So let's do that here. Let's say, for whatever reason, let's say text, let's say there's some performance issues with that. We want to get rid of that, and I want to refactor to use, I guess if there's performance issues, it wouldn't be refactoring. Maybe that's a topic for another discussion. Let's just refactor. Let's say this is just a personal preference. I'm going to do content.decode. And it works. So we've got an advantage here over our previous method where we can freely refactor now and our test will still pass. So let's break our test once. Let's do the same thing that we did in part 1 where we inadvertently removed the I from the URL. And look at that. We have 2 failing tests. We have our real test that's failing with a connection error. And we also have our mock test that is also failing with a connection error. But this one, if you look a little bit closer, see that the error message is a little bit different. Here it says refused by responses. So let's scroll up here and see a little bit more about what it's saying. So in the more verbose message here, it says request get sourceallies.com without the I, and available matches is sourceallies.com with the I, and it says URL does not match. So this is basically telling us that our response library is expecting certain things to be used, and we use something that wasn't one of those things. So that's pretty good feedback. That's a pretty clear message. So I'm going to, I think I just ran the test. I'm going to fix this, put it all back, so we're passing again. All right, perfect. That looks good. All right, now let's look at another trade-off here. So far so good. I like this approach. But let's say in our hypothetical application, it's still a little unstable and we still need to swap between requests and URL lib for whatever reason. And so if I end up needing to swap, and I'm just gonna swap these out, and I'm gonna change this to read.decode. So let's say I need to refactor back to this. And if I try to run this with responses, I get a passing test and a failing test. And the passing test is our real test, and the failing test is our mock test. And if we look at the output of our failure, we've got assert mock text in, and then we basically have the entire contents of the real web page. So essentially that tells me that our mock is not mocking. And that's because this is a specific specialized tool that is specific to requests. And since we're no longer using requests, this tool will no longer work, unfortunately. Depending on your application, the tools and the libraries that you're using, switching from general purpose mocking to specific specialized mocking may have some advantages for you. This has been Matt Morrison with Technically Speaking at Source Allies. Do you have a topic that you want to see covered? Comment down below. Check out sourceallies.com to learn more about us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.